Hi, and I'm going to bow. Welcome to Unit 5. Glad you're here. This week we're going to take a deep look at diversity and inclusivity in transpersonal psychology. So, using a transpersonal lens to look at questions about diversity and inclusivity, and also using diversity as a lens to understand transpersonal psychology. I want to say that while it's our primary focus this week, I also hope that these questions about diversity and inclusivity can come into our discussions for the rest of the semester, really. I think the material here is so important personally to us, to our culture, communities and culture, and to the field of transpersonal psychology. I think it's so important that it deserves both a deep focus, as we do this week, and also a broad focus, so that we keep it as a question we continue to bring up regardless of what other material we're studying. I'm thinking that diversity gives us some better understanding of what transpersonal psychology is. Especially it can help us confront what I believe is a misconception about transpersonal psychology, that it deals only with oneness and unity, and in that oneness and unity all differences dissolve. I think there are states, I know there are states in which all differences dissolve. And in those states of absolute union with the mystery, absolute absorption into the divine, absolute emptiness and cessation, that in those states all conceptual differences dissolve, and during that time there really is no perception. And those states are not the only interest of transpersonal psychology. Those are important states to know for oneself and to know conceptually in our field of study in transpersonal psychology, because they help us understand the edges of potential for human consciousness. But there's so much that's much more familiar to us in terms of ego transcendence that highlights differences, that makes differences more clear, more beautiful, richer. So rather than the world disappearing, these are states in which the world appears more alive, more full. And that supports our engagement with the world, our appreciation for others, our appreciation for difference. So just to say that I think we could understand some more about ego transcendence as the central concept in transpersonal psychology by understanding the role of difference and what it means to transcend our usual ego in relating to difference. Part of the ego is holding assumptions about ourselves, about other people, about the world, projecting the past into the present, holding fixed and fixated views of ourselves and other people. And so when we transcend the ego, it tends to soften and open up these assumptions, preconceptions, prejudices, and fixed ideas. It's only when the assumptions we make about ourselves and each other can dissolve, open up, become more spacious and more fluid. Only when we stop projecting the past and old messages onto the present that we can really relate to difference in a more clear way, a more genuine way, a more generous way. So I think there's really a close connection between diversity and inclusivity on the one hand and contemplative practice, transpersonal practice, the understanding of transpersonal states and stages. That's the underlying reason that I wanted to bring this material in this week about diversity, to understand some more about ego transcendence and understand more about transpersonal psychology. I'll say that there's a very personal reason for me too, which has to do again with exploring, exposing, confronting assumptions, fixed ideas, preconceptions about myself and about others. And this material on diversity and inclusivity continues to confront those. It's not easy material most of the time. And if we're really doing our studies, we get to places in this material that are unsettling, where we are confronted with our own assumptions, our own preconceptions, our own projections. And for me personally, and I hope for you, it's in that confrontation that there's the potential for more freedom, for me to be more free, for me to support others' freedom. Freedom from the past, freedom from the occlusions and the obstructions of the ego, freedom from the weight of applying old ideas to the moment. And in that freedom, there's a fresh perception. There's more capacity for compassion. There's more possibility for understanding who we are and who each other is. So I hope that there's also a personal dimension for you in this. I tried to write about this a little bit in an essay that I included at the end of the lecture. And as we've been saying all semester, I hope you can approach this material in both a sincere conceptual way and a sincere personal way. So both the academic and the experiential can weave together this week. I have one other announcement that I want to make here. Last week I posted a question in the virtual office about how the course is going for you, especially the discussions. I want to know how the forum discussions are working for you. And at this point in the semester, we're getting 5 weeks into it, almost a third of the way through the course. I want to make sure that the forums are working for everybody. So would you take a look in the virtual office and respond briefly to my post about how the forum discussions are working? And while I'm thinking of it, check into the virtual office regularly. That's a place where I may make some comments or others may bring questions. And along with checking for announcements, check into the virtual office a few times a week. You may find something interesting there. So I hope you're well, and I look forward to our discussions this week. I'm going to bow again. Thanks, and see you online.